Skáldskaparmal, Chapter 43. Before reading this chapter, I want to point out that when reading the sagas and Eddas, sometimes it's unclear in some of the meanings. And three pieces in this particular chapter stand out to me. The first one is greatly debated between scholars, and that's whether or not the two dwarven brothers, Sindri and Brokr, are actually sons of Ívaldi, or if the sons of Ívaldi are completely separate dwarves. During this reading, and the AI images I had generated, we're going to assume that they are separate dwarves, but again, scholars are divided on this point. The next one is that the fly that ends up biting Brokr, some interpret as being Loki shapeshifted into the fly. This is never actually outright stated, but it is assumed to be so. The last is that the hammer that is forged is thought to be Mjölnir, but likewise it is never specifically stated to be Mjölnir. Let us begin. Chapter 43. About the smith, the son of Ívaldi, and about the dwarf Sindri. Why is gold called Siv's hair? Loki Loverson, for mischief's sake, cut off all of Siv's hair. But when Thor learned of this, he seized Loki and would have broken every bone in him, had he not sworn to get from the black elves that they should make Siv a hair of gold, such that it would grow like other hair. After that, Loki went to those dwarves who are called Ívaldi's sons, and they made the hair, and Skithblathnir also, and the spear which became Odin's possession, and was called Gungnir. Then Loki wagered his head with the dwarf called Brokr, that Brokr's brother Sindri could not make three other precious things equal in virtue to these. Now when they came to the smithy, Sindri laid a pigskin in the hearth, and bade Brokr blow, and not cease work until he took out of the hearth that which he had laid therein. But when he went out of the smithy, while the other dwarf was blowing, straightway a fly settled upon his hand, and stung. Yet he blew on as before, until the smith took the work out of the hearth, and it was a boar, with mane and bristles of gold. Next he laid gold in the hearth, and bade him blow, and ceased not from his blast until he should return. He went out, but again the fly came and settled on Brokr's neck, and bit now half again as hard as before. Yet he blew until the smith took from the hearth that gold ring which is called Draupnir. Then Sindri laid iron in the hearth and bade him blow, saying that it would be spoiled if the blast failed. Straightway the fly settled between Brokr's eyes and stung his eyelid. But when the blood fell into his eyes so that he could not see, then he clutched at it with his hands as swiftly as he could, while the bellows grew flat, and he swept the fly from him. Then the smith came thither, and said that it come near to spoiling all that was in the hearth. Then he took from the forge a hammer. He put all the precious works into the hands of Brokr his brother, and bade him go with them to Asgard and claim the wager. Now when he and Loki brought forward the precious gifts, the Aesir sat down in the seats of judgment, and that verdict was to prevail which Odin, Thor, Freyr should render. Then Loki gave Odin the spear Gungnir, and to Thor the hair which Siv was to have, and Skithblathnir to Freyr, and told the virtues of all these things, that the spear would never stop in its thrust. The hair would grow to the flesh as soon as it came upon Siv's head, and Skithblathnir would have a favorable breeze as soon as the sail was raised, in whatsoever direction it might go, but could be folded together like a napkin, and be kept in Freyr's pouch if he so desired. Then Brokr brought forward his gifts. He gave to Odin the ring, saying that every 9th night 8 rings of the same weight would drop from it, 8 rings equal in weight to itself. To Freyr he gave the boar, saying that it could run through the air and water, night and day, faster than any horse, and it could never become so dark with night or gloom of the murky regions that there should not be sufficient light where he went. Such was the glow from its mane and bristles. Then he gave the hammer to Thor, and said that Thor might smite as hard as he desired, whatsoever might be before him, and the hammer would not fail. And if he threw it, he would never miss, and never fly so far that it would not return to his hand. And if he wished, he might keep it in his shirt, it was so small. But indeed it was a flaw in the hammer, that the forehaft was somewhat short. This was their decision, that the hammer was best of all the precious works, and in it there was the greatest defense against the rhyme giants, and they gave sentence that the dwarf should have his wager. Then Loki offered to redeem his head, but the dwarf said there was no chance of this. "Take me then," said Loki. But when he tried to take him, he was far away. Loki had those shoes with which he ran through air and over water. Then the dwarf prayed Thor to catch him, and Thor did so. Then the dwarf would have hewed off his head. But Loki said that he might have the head but not the neck. So the dwarf took a thong and a knife, and would have bored a hole in Loki's lips and sewn his mouth together, but the knife did not cut. Then he said it would be better if his brother's owl were there, and just as he named it, the owl was there. And it pierced the lips. He sewed the lips together, and Loki ripped the thong out of the edges. That thong, with which Loki's mouth was sewn together, is called vatari.